Excellent. So everybody's here. So would you like the rules in French or in English? Vous voulez les règlements en français ou en anglais?
En anglais, s'il vous plaît.
In English? Perfect. Alrighty, so hello and welcome to the presentation of the crisis management case. I'll be reading the presentation instructions and then let the judges introduce themselves. So you have 20 minutes to present your solution to the judges. Time will start as soon as you start your presentation. You can track the time on the Kuku link that has been sent in the chat. And just as a reminder, the judges cannot interrupt you during your presentation. Following your presentation, the judges will have a 5-minute question period to clarify certain elements of your presentation. And please note that during the question period, if a team member is speaking when the time is up, he is allowed to finish his sentence. I'll now let the judges introduce themselves, and then I'll let you begin. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is François Cormier. I'm co-owner and CEO at Agence XP.
My name is Marie-Pierre, co-founder at Agence XP.
My name is Jean-Michel, DHR of DSA and co-founder of Agence WebEasy and Prévaction.
Good afternoon, I'm Jean-Sébastien, HR Director from MMC Packaging Equipment.
You may now begin.
Academic conditional standing. Why am I talking about academic conditional standing today? I'm talking about this because when I started university, I was actually on academic conditional standing. Now, what that means is that I had to readjust. I had to learn from what I was doing wrong. And this is exactly what this case is all about. You want to learn from what you've done wrong at Les Constructions Néron et Fils. Hello, everyone. My name is Axel, and I'm today with my colleagues Divya and Justin. We're here from Ayuto Consulting, here to help you manage this crisis. So let's dive into why we're here today. Today, we're here to provide you, Mr. Néron, with an action plan for your future business endeavors by building on lessons learned from Néron and Fils Incorporating. Now, in order to do so, we need to take into account 3 things. The first one is your employees. We want to know how can you ensure that your future employees understand their roles as well as their responsibilities within the company better than as they did at Néron and Fils Inc. We want to know how can you improve your supply chain efforts. So we want to know how can you improve the supply chain efficiency for your future business endeavors. And finally, we need to take a look at the accounting and financing practices. We want to know how can you move away from the bad accounting practices that took place and improve your future financial health. Now, this is why today we will recommend to implement the FRESH recommendation. The FRESH recommendation is a 3-pronged approach aiming to improve your company's not only financial position, but also human resource operations to ensure sustainable success. This is going to be built through 3 pillars. The first one is your financial reality. We want to review your current financial position and improve your government relationships and better collect funds for new, fresh businesses, as well as improving your accounting practices. Once we've done so, and once you are greatly managing your accounting practices, we want to then tackle your employees. We want to train upper-level employees, hire them, hire and train new employees to ensure they remain motivated and accountable. And finally, the last prong will be staying healthy. We want to build for the future, and we will do so by entering optimal supplier and customer relationships while continuously managing your finances better than what you did previously. Now let's dive into the analysis that led us to this recommendation. First, starting with the accounting practices at Les Constructions Néron et Fils Inc., we're seeing that it was a major reason why the company had to declare bankruptcy. Hence why we recommend that you need to move away from shady accounting practices. And looking at the current situation, we saw that, first of all, there were no supporting documents. We noticed that the accountant in charge did not live in the same city as the operating business, which actually made the transfer of crucial documents harder. Therefore, the management did not have the documents required. Now, Building on this, we also saw that there were incomplete or unentered transactions, actually also preventing completion of financial statements, which are crucial for not only collecting money, but also making sure that your company is staying healthy. Now, in terms of tax declarations irregularities, we also saw that your accountant only transmitted several transactions and sales, which he could understood. So you didn't have that much visibility once again. Now, we also saw that there was too much money movement. Actually, in that company, there was a frequent use of personal credit cards to compensate the lack of cash from the credit line you had of $25,000. Then we also saw that there was no CSST cotization, CCQ cotizations, or quarterly payment deductions. And finally, which probably was one of the main issues, we saw that there was a huge cash flow issue with high expenses because of the company was financed mainly through high interest rates with suppliers' accounts. So here, what you have to retain is that with better accounting practices, more visibility, you would have had more visibility over not only your business financial capabilities, but also overall health. So now that we've seen how crucial accounting practices were and the fact that it was one of the main reasons why you had to declare bankruptcy, let's look at your employees from this company and let's look at what you can learn from your employees. First, looking at the invoices. Well, we saw that your employees did not really care about the invoices. They did not really communicate them actually with management. It was either provided late, in bad condition, or they did not really understand the importance of invoices. Now, in terms of your customers, since your employees are directly dealing with them, we saw that some contracts were canceled or unpaid due to multiple factors, mainly coming from your employees. The first being that they were showing up late. There has been cases of drugs taken on site. Projects were not done properly. We've seen some water infiltrations in some projects, and there has been some project delays. Finally, in terms of employees, not only did they not understand the importance of invoices, they made some customers unsatisfied, but they were also hard to deal with. And when I say hard to deal with, I mean that they were constantly negotiating wages and menacing of leaving, which is a common practice in this field. And there was potential fraud from employees stealing time since they were away from the business. So in order to improve your company culture moving forward, and overall efficiency, employees need more accountability and higher commitments. And finally, we also saw that suppliers not honoring payments were putting your business at risk, and banks were not trusting you. So we saw that one of the main issues in that business was that Les Constructions Néron & Fils was actually too reliant on suppliers and banks' line of credit card, which made the business financially vulnerable. So we have a few use cases of suppliers and banks. However, due to lack of time, I'm just going to quickly glance over it and go into the summary of our insights for the analysis. Now, starting with the first one, we saw that with better accounting practices, you would have had more visibility over your business financial capabilities and overall health. Secondly, we saw that in order to improve your company culture and overall efficiency, employees would need more accountability and higher commitments. And third, we saw that in order to improve customer relationship and operational efficiency moving forward, you will need to ensure your project completion on time and in budget. Now this leaves, I will leave the floor to Divya for the recommendation of today.
Thank you, Axel. But before I go into our plan of action, let's take 10 seconds here to think about where we are. You built this entire company for your family. You went in, raised the money that you needed, but unfortunately things didn't go as planned. And now you're trying to start fresh. But starting fresh is going to be difficult if things just turn out the way that they used to. And this is your crisis. You need to act now. And with our recommendation, we say that you need to start fresh. That is a three-pronged approach aiming to improve your company's financial position and human resource operations just to ensure that you can be sustainable. That is a financial reality. So we're looking at where you stand right now financially. How can you improve those government relationships that were tarnished in the past? And what necessary funds need to be collected in order for your business to even be sustainable? And with the money that's collected, You can hire employees. So training those upper level employees, including yourself and your sons, hiring and training those new employees to ensure that they remain motivated and accountable. And lastly, staying healthy. So building for the future, how can you ensure that you have those optimal supplier and customer relationships to keep driving your business while still managing those finances? So with that, let's look into our plan of action, starting with our timeline. So Operation Fresh, we're going to be focusing on 3 prongs: financial reality, employees, and staying healthy. In the financial reality side, we're going to be looking at how you can build your financial plan for your new business. We're going to be looking into enforcing those proper accounting practices, mainly through hiring a professional accountant and collecting those necessary funds. Collecting necessary funds is not easy. It does take looking into different resources, and this is why it'll take up to 6 months to do the total. Next, we're going to be looking at our employees. So you're going to be training the upper head Néron family. We're also going to be hiring and training those new employees. And lastly, creating a new culture of professionalism for all employees, including the upper management, as well as ensuring that they stay motivated. So this hiring process and training process will begin at 6 months, and the training will last till 8 months, but this is continuous because you're trying to bring in a new culture to your business. And lastly, staying healthy. So this is all about operational efficiency. How can you remain efficient, have those good bargaining relationships with your suppliers? How can you improve customer relationships? And how can you continuously motivate those employees that drive your business? So this is going to be between 8 months and 1 year, which is the timeline you asked for, and continuous. So with that being said, let's dive into phase 1, financial reality. So when we're looking at financial reality, we're looking at 2 things. One, you need to enforce those proper accounting practices, like my colleague really mentioned, and then you need to build a financial plan for your new business. So the first thing you're going to do within the next 2 weeks is hire an external accounting professional. And that external accounting professional has multiple responsibilities. That is just basic financial statement preparation, ensuring that accounting practices are followed and respected. And he's going to be meeting with Ms. Dion, you, Ms. Néron, and your 2 sons. In 1 month from now, you need to have the past financial statements. The external accounting professional will look over those past financial statements and work with Monsieur Néron, Carl, to build that financial plan. Now, why is this important? When you're trying to launch a business and you're trying to start fresh, you need to look ahead. You need to have that financial plan ready and see where you want to be, which is why you need to work with the accountant to project those financial statements for the 5 years ahead. Next, by the time 6 months are over, you're going to have worked with a mission and to improve those relationships with the government, CNESST, and CCQ. So we've already seen that she has done an excellent job with trying to mitigate the relationships that in the past. We want to continuously ensure that you maintain those good relationships. And you need to, on the financial plan side, build up 6 months worth of savings for expenses. So this is not entirely money only. This is also just what you did. You went to a friend and you purchased an equipment for $150,000 instead of $400,000. So that saving is included in this step, as well as angel investors, your friends, your family, and anyone else who'd be willing to help you financially. The last step here is hiring that external auditing company. This is afterwards. And this is really mainly in our next phase is just to ensure that those proper accounting practices are followed and respected. And next, you want to continue to get that additional funding, grants for small businesses, for example. So if you maintain those good relationships with the government, they will be helping you out with those grants for small businesses that exist in Quebec. So with that being said, I'd like to pass it on to Justin to continue our plan of action.
Thank you, Divya. So now we will take a look at the employees of the company. So the first phase of the employee phase is the recruitment aspect. So this will be done on 2 fronts, both looking at upper management as well as on-field employees. So in terms of upper management, you need to hire an HR manager who has experience in the business and really knows how to deal with HR. They'll be responsible for ensuring strong culture and that proper protocols are followed throughout the entirety of the business, which is why this is an ongoing process. In addition, they'll also be responsible of training the Néron family members to make sure that they know what they're doing in terms of HR processes. And this will begin, it will be a 2-week process of intense training. However, the training will be ongoing as well, depending on how their needs and how they're progressing. Next, as we looked at before, you need to hire an accounting manager who will ensure that all the tasks in the accounting mandate are done correctly to make sure that all the finances are managed properly as well. And they must be hired now. And next, on-field employees. Now, there'll be 2 sort of branches of this. First, supervisors will be Steve and Leo, for the time being, will be in charge of overseeing sites and reporting. So they'll be in charge of looking at how operations are functioning and making sure that everything progresses smoothly. And if they're not, they're in charge of fixing that. Next, you need to look at hiring committed and skilled employees. Employees who are really committed to their job and are technically capable of doing so as well. And they'll be hired with a skill test and interview section, where they'll be tested out on their skills as well as their personality to see if it's a match for the company and the new culture that we're trying to promote. Let's get more about this new culture that we're trying to promote. So the first step of this is onboarding. Now, getting people onto the company, you need to clearly communicate the employee responsibilities and expectations so that they know what is expected of them, what they're supposed to be doing, and what they're really looking after. And to ensure this, there will be ongoing training on proper practices, proper protocol, meeting deadline to make sure that what you want to do is practice. Next, team bonding. The essence of a good team is a team that works hard and works together. And this will be done with team bonding. So there will be team building exercises that will be incorporated into the job training. So essentially on the job training will be done in teams so they can get to know each other better, understand how they work together to really collaborate together. And then there'll also be bonding sessions outside of work hours. So this can be done, for example, by hosting activities outside of work hours that employees can really use to get to know each other and really talk about things aside from work and kind of live freely with each other. So the onboarding process will take 1 month and the team bonding process will take 2 months. Now, to maintain all this and to maintain the proper work hours, first there'll be celebratory events when the job is completed. So when there's a job well done, you can make sure that everybody knows it's a job that it was well done. So this can be done, for example, by going out to get drinks for the company, just something that so everyone has a good time and knows that what they're working towards and the hard work they put in is being paid off. But you also need to look at the other side, disciplinary actions for misconduct. So as it currently stands, there are some employees who are doing things that aren't really the best on work practices. For example, showing up with drugs on the worksite is not acceptable. So instances like these need to be punished with either suspension, fines, or in the gravest of cases, perhaps even looking at termination. Now, as we have seen previously, the supervisors will be in charge of really enforcing this by reporting through the actions, and then the upper level management can take care of the disciplinary measures, and this will be ongoing. Now, let's look at the third phase, staying healthy. So we have looked at both the financial impacts and how that can play a part into this whole solution. And we've also looked at the employees and how employees can look at really how by improving employees, you can improve other aspects of the company as well. And this is no different than in the staying healthy section, which really looks at making this a sustainable solution and really making this something that can go on in the future. So in terms of customer relationships, there's a bit of an issue right now in terms of service delivery and getting things done on time. So this must be improved. There needs to be improved service delivery. So meeting objectives and meeting deadlines, as well as better on-work behavior. So as we previously mentioned, drug use on a work site is not acceptable. And you really need to be promoting better practices through your training initiatives that we had previously spoken about. Another thing to keep in mind here is ensuring that both parties are aligned. So there can't be any gaps in terms of what the customer expects and what you expect. Everything needs to be clearly communicated so that what you're delivering is actually what they need. With that being said, as well as deadlines, it happens sometimes that deadlines are not met. That's why slack time should be communicated, slack time being the kind of buffer zone between when the project was initially supposed to end and when it actually did end, so that everyone kind of is on the same page. Next, for operational efficiency, there needs to be proper allocation of time, which again comes with the training. So there can't be any waiting around. They really need to be doing their work once they're on the field. Also, realistic project completion goals. So do not take projects that really that will be too much for you. It just looks bad on the company. Stick to project goals that you know you can complete within time and within budget. And finally, maintaining good supplier relations. So you need to make sure that supplier relations are good on both ends. So they need to be delivering for you and you need to be delivering for them. And this can be done with negotiations and really making sure that all the criteria are met and established. And then finally, with the correct financial procedures that we had mentioned previously. So for example, the correct prioritization of who to pay, making sure that everything is kept properly in the books, you can build more trust with banks and customers who will be more willing to take you on and taking your business on. And this will also allow for business growth. As your funds grow, so will your company grow. You'll be able to take on more jobs, et cetera, which will also lend you to be more attractive to employees, as people will say, wow, this company is doing great. We want to go work for them as well, not only rank financially, but also with the culture that they have built. Now, let's take a look at some of the financial impacts. So we'll see here that the first phase, this is only looking at costs, will be an increase of just under $450,000, which will be coming through the raising money. However, the second phase will see a cost of $80,000, which is due to HR employees plus training. And then finally, phase 3, staying healthy, will be attributed to $350,000 of salary, leading to a total of roughly $430,000 in Canadian dollars. So let's look at a refresher of what happened today. So we're here to provide you with an action plan for your future business endeavors by building on lessons learned from Néron and FÉV. And we did this by looking at employees, supply chain, and accounting and finance. And we came up with our fresh recommendation, which is a 3-pronged approach to improve your company's financial HR position and doing this so in the future with sustainable success in terms of financial reality, employees, and staying healthy. Now, 2 years ago, I tried out for my case competition class for school and didn't make it. But guess what? Next year, I came back with a fresh start and was able to learn from my mistakes, and here I am today. And by learning from your mistakes and capitalizing on your fresh start, you can do the same. Thank you, and we now open the floor to questions.
Thank you. So we will start the question period. So you can go, Jean-Sébastien.
Okay, first question for you guys. Why do you think that the behavior that was happening on site by the employees was tolerated, and what can be done to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, so we believe that a lot of this comes down to sort of a lack of discipline. It was mentioned that when Mr. Néron kind of saw an example of there was misconduct, one of the people said like, oh yeah, this is not something new, but they didn't really mention anything that they did to mitigate this. So that's why we recommended to take more disciplinary measures, such as fines, such as suspensions, or even in the worst case, maybe even termination, to make sure that they get the message that this isn't really acceptable. And this will be balanced with the initiatives that we had mentioned. So it's not really just a we're punishing you situation. It's really like a you do well, you get rewarded, you do bad, you get punished type of scenario.
Thank you. Do you guys think that a 5-year plan is a bit too long for a crisis like that?
So in terms of the 5-year plan, that is solely for the financial purposes, just because when we're projecting for the future ahead and as a startup, you want to really plan for the future. But in terms of our focus plan is 1 year.
Thank you, Divya. Can you guys elaborate a bit on the strategies on how to get that extra financial help for a company that is not many innovative?
Definitely. So do you mean focusing on like the financial funding?
Yes.
So for the funding, you were lucky enough to get friends who were able to give you cheaper equipment that would normally cost double or even more. So this sort of saving has been incorporated in our plan. Also, you can go for angel investors. So one of them being friends or family outside of the ones that you currently reached out to. And you can also, through Madame Dion, improve those government relationships, because in Quebec, there's a lot of small funding for businesses where they do support you. So there's 3 different ways that you can get that money.
Thank you.
We have other questions.
Pierre, François, Jean-Michel, avez-vous d'autres questions?
No question.
It's okay.
Perfect. So thank you, guys. I invite you now to judges, you can stay, and students, you can leave the Zoom right now. So have a nice day.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Guys.
Have a good day.